Your personality is a costume stitched by your trauma, and tonight we burn it. True magic is an inter and transdimensional process. It relies on your ability to connect to more subtle levels of reality, namely the etheric, astral, and mental planes, to specifically contact, initiate, activate, and create thought forms, to energize them, and through the process of energizing them, bringing them through this gateway into the physical world, and in the process, transforming yourself. The biggest block and obstacle in this process that we call witchcraft, magic, sorcery is your personality. What is your personality? It is a reaction to external circumstances. Most people's identities are not created consciously, nor are they chosen. They are instinctual, unconscious responses to external stimulations of pain, trauma, inflicted pressure. And the result of that is a unconscious memory coupled with the instinctual response to avoid the pain that is attached as a memory. And that leads to an instinctual response that seeks to avoid what is associated with that trigger. And that can lead to very strange behavior, but the biggest obstacle for us in this context is that this complex that has now been created prevents a free flow of energy. This is an energy block. Believe it or not, your personality, most of your personality, is simply an amalgamation and an accumulation of trauma and accumulated energy blocks in your aura that make it harder for you to practice magic and to get results. Every habit, taste, belief is inhibited, or rather inherited, or a compensation for something. So the destruction of the ego, the destruction of the self, is a prerequisite to true magic. The personality needs to be destroyed and rebuilt. This is where the symbology of the phoenix of the Ouroboros, of Lucifer, of all of those symbols come into play. Prometheus, all of these things symbolized destruction, rebirth, Horus, Osiris, and that needs to take place continuously and constantly. Your magical journey is one of constant death and rebirth of the ego, of the self. The ego is a static structure, but the universe, specifically the magical universe, is a fluid, symbolic universe. The noosphere is changing constantly and continuously. like everything else in the universe. It is cyclical, it is evolving, it is moving, it is not static. Any being that is not willing to evolve, to change, to move, stands against the movement of the universe and will perish. And the same applies to your energetic structure. Now, when I'm talking about personality, I'm not talking about what is usually considered the personality. I'm talking about the energetic construct that has been installed through the unconscious processes that I mentioned earlier and is now a form of a shell, an armor that is preventing your unconscious from accessing power, magic, your gnosis. All of these things that you seek lie beyond this ego shell that you must destroy if you seek true power. So, why does magic fail without this collapse? See, rituals cast from your personality do not work, they bounce. What you're aiming to influence through your magic is something that is meta personal, it's the collective unconscious. And in order to access that level of, or layer of reality, you must first transcend your own individual identity. So, the dismantling, or the solution of this ego armor must take place first. This is what we call shadow work. This is what we call energy work. This is what we call Arimanic yoga. This is what we call meditation, the reconnection to your gnosis. Spirits don't obey masks, and this ego structure is a mask. Spirits obey frequency and archetypes. Archetypes are the representations of frequencies in the collective unconscious, according to Jungian psychology, depth psychology, which is a map that allows us to navigate transcendental, or rather, transpersonal layers of the mind. You must embody a specific frequency, a specific archetype to command the energies that are associated and connected with it. To command the current of money, you must become Jupiter. You must allow that current to flow through you. You must embody, become a vessel for Jupiter. You must let him in. That cannot happen if your ego is too rigid. In order to command the currents of seduction and sexuality, you must become Lilith. You must become Zapar. You must embody Sitri. The archetype is a living universal pattern. It's not invented, it's not accidental. It is one of the coding structures of the matrix. It's one of the algorithms that run behind the veil. And you must speak the language of the programmer of this matrix if you want to change the matrix itself. You want to change the program, you must learn the language. And the language of this reality structure that your consciousness is experiencing here, what we call reality, 3D world. Behind that, the source code speaks in archetypes, frequency, and energy. And when you learn that language, you will be able to rearrange those structures and, as a result, rearrange physical reality and become a magician. In order to do magic, you have to be a magician. The doing is a natural result of that. And this is the key. To operate as an archetype is to command psychic gravity without needing effort. The highest ideal of any true initiate is to become the current of magic, to become the very force, to embody the archetype of the magician, which means that wielding the sword in ritual is the first step. The transformation, transmutation, the alchemical refinement of the self and the vessel is the real work. And then initiation eventually leads to a full embodiment of the magician, the archetype of the magician, the one that is feared and obeyed by all spirits, the one that is capable of embodying, housing, wielding, and alchemically restructuring all archetypes, powers, energies, elemental forces. You must learn to radiate magic, not perform. You must become it, not posture or carry its seals and symbols. You must become the gateway through which these forces express themselves in this world. The nexus between here and there. You must collapse the distance between subject and object, between what is, what cannot be, between magic and reality. Signs that you're ready to enter these gates. A fatigue with the self, a fatigue with the world. You know you don't belong into this world. You know you don't belong here. In fact, you know you're not human. You're something else, something more. Your human shell is a prison, and you can feel that. This is godhood knocking on the doors of your unconscious mind. You are an archetype in the making, mm, that wants to express itself, but is bound by this shell that you constructed and have been indoctrinated into. And I'm here to help you break that. If you're called to this path, I tell you this, and I say this in the name of my friend Lucifer as well as in my own Aurelius Sopax. You were never meant to be a person, you were meant to become a signal. Let them forget your name. You're not here to be remembered, you're here to be obeyed. Now I'm going to take 5 questions, and then I'm going to close this live stream. So please post your questions here. Let us both pray for both sides in the Holy Land, Isaac and Ishmael. Sea goddess, I am in the restaurant, I can't hear, but I'll circle back around. Is your website up and down? Do you take on female clients? Yes, I do take on female clients. Do animals have a heaven or a soul? They definitely do have. They're more. I mean, it depends to what level they have evolved, but most animals have like group souls. They're more like egregorically controlled. They don't really have an individualized consciousness. The more powerful the being, the more individualized the consciousness is because it can maintain itself and has potential to expand itself into even a sovereign influence over others. It's a Imagine it as a continuous competitive interaction between energy fields. This is what the spirit world looks like. Different energy fields. Different energy fields have different levels of power and a different level of individuation and consciousness to them. The more dense the information, the more individualized and the more intelligent and powerful the consciousness that inhabits it. Most animals have group consciousnesses. You can observe that in, for example, a swarm of, imagine a swarm of birds, how they move in perfect harmony. This is an energy field that is acting upon individual parts of it. Humans are more individualized and also more evolved, of course. Now, which spirits are best to employ for healing severe afflictions? Every spirit has a certain office to them, if that makes sense. Office in the sense of certain strengths and weaknesses. So this is a very general question that I can't answer because I don't know what the affliction is. What are your thoughts on magic squares? It's just another tool to restructure the energy field. People like Alex Hormozy are successful and claim to not meditate or do anything in this regard. How do you think they align themselves with the frequency of money? It's like fish in water, you know. The universal laws that I teach cannot be broken. It's just that most people that are financially successful do certain things right without knowing why, or they don't even know that they're doing the right things. It's like fish in the water. They're not fish in the water are not aware that water is there, but they're doing the right things, you see. So he has certain foundations right. Maybe through trial and error, he learned what works and what doesn't. I'm sure he analyzes it and self-analyzes quite frequently. And aligning yourself with a specific frequency is not necessarily meditation. There are plenty of, in fact, I would say most people that meditate are poor, or at least not financially well off. Meditation is something that you do to clear your mind and create kind of like a baseline, which you come back to your center. That's what meditation is. But meditation in itself is not something that's going to make you rich, obviously. But certain actions align yourself with a specific frequency, of course. And the problem of most spiritual people or most people that are into magic is that they're obviously not doing private equity or mergers and acquisitions, right? If you do mergers and acquisitions, you're not a multimillionaire. You're not doing something right, you know. So don't think binary, my friend. You think you're thinking binary. You're thinking either or. You know, this is not how reality works. Reality is a spectrum. There are no absolutes. Okay, and this is becoming more and more visible to people. The more we're moving into the future, the more old belief systems are collapsing, and you will be forced to become more flexible in your thinking. For healing heart issues and connective tissue fascia issues. Well, that would be, I mean, Raphael is probably a good choice here. Is there gender in the energy field? Is there hierarchy like male above women? Yes. Gender is definitely something which can be described as a certain polarity. So yes, there is gender in this field. Hierarchy like male above women. This makes no sense. A hierarchy between those two makes no sense because one can't survive without the other. So without the masculine polarity, the feminine polarity, you cannot continue to exist. See, life is a cycle where polarities have to come together to create something new. Okay. So the masculine cannot be superior to the feminine, and the feminine cannot be superior to the masculine because they need each other in order to continue existing. You know. So in that sense, this hierarchy is an illusion. This is a thinking that is also unique to Western minds, really. It's like, is the male better than the female? Whatnot. There are distinct roles and strengths and weaknesses in both of those polarities. So it's nothing to do with dominate. Well, it can have to do with domination. I mean, like, there is a certain aspect to femininity that wants to surrender to worthy masculinity, but that's not a value judgment. It's not necessarily that the feminine is less valuable. It's more like the feminine polarity is like a test for the strength of the masculine, if that makes sense. So the testing of the feminine towards the masculine forces the masculine to strengthen itself. And if it is worthy, the feminine will submit. You can see that in the interaction of men and women. Now, see, the problem in today's society, for example, why relationships are kind of falling apart in a sense is that um, we're living in very unnatural environments. Okay, and men and women are forced to disassociate a little bit from the core essence that they carry. You know, it is very difficult to express um, true masculinity in today's society, and it is very hard to express true femininity in today's society. You know, no. Is there a spectrum? Of course, there's a spectrum. Are there people that are like gender fluid? Sure, of course, all of that. But these polarities are real. They exist. Has nothing to do with hierarchy. Has nothing to do with hierarchy. It's more like polarity and mutual dependent dependence. Mutual dependence. Mutual dependence. I'd say. Okay. Thank you for this input. For nothing else, I'd stay up right now. Yeah. Thank you for the compliment. Now, this is a topic. I mean, I'm talking about the gender thing. As you know, maybe you know that, maybe you don't, but mm, I've s- I'm a student of seduction, and I've studied seduction for many years now, psychic seduction in particular. And one mistake, not mistake, one mistake that a lot of men make, for example, is they become too civilized, too refined. If that makes sense. Okay, but what we have to understand is what we can't forget is that sexual attraction is the basis for love, and it is the basis of continued existence. Comes out of nature. It's raw. It's messy, and it's not pretty, but it is necessary for survival. So a lot of men psychologically castrate themselves, for example. You have to stay a little bit of a savage in order to really turn her on, because you you have to speak to that core within her. Okay, so you have to be a little bit of a you have to, yeah, just to be a little bit of a savage, of course. Still, you also can't underestimate that negative emotions are associated with sexual arousal in females' brains, in women's brains. If you can hurt a woman emotionally, that will simultaneously sexually arouse her. You got to use that responsibly, but that's the truth. Here's a that was a golden nugget right there for you guys. If you can hurt a woman emotionally, she will sexually be attracted to you. Now, please use that responsibly, but it's a it's a fine line between, you know, desire and pain, passion. You know, passion. The etymology of passion is suffering. So it's like this. It's a fine mix. You have to be. Listen, seduction is like being an artist and a composer with emotions and energy. You have to create a beautiful experience for her using emotions, triggering different emotional experiences. And when you have her emotions and you have her mind, you will automatically have the body. So it is up to you to create kind of like this little masterpiece. That's an art form. It's an art form, seduction. And your instruments are not musical instruments, but your instruments are emotions, words, energy, gestures, imagination, movements, things like that. You got to create a seductive experience for her. And yeah, that's a piece of art. And the ingredients, the emotional ingredients are not just positive. This is what the nice guy does. Exclusively exclusively feeds her positive emotions. That's not sexy. That is not sexy. You need some darkness as well. The dark character is seductive. I'll tell you why. Because under the rule of for many centuries of the solar god form, this monotheistic God that we all been forced to worship. Some of us embraced it, others, like my lineage, we always resisted that. When I say my lineage, I'm talking about the magicians, the black magicians. We have always worked with the forbidden, that which was ostracized and suppressed, you see. And the shadow is what contains all eroticism. The shadow is what contains all sexual energy, you see. So you cannot just be nice. That will not trigger what you want. You want sexual arousal. You want to pull out. See, it's like magic. You want to evoke and pull out a certain energy out of her, right? Let's say it is the energy of sexual arousal. You'll not do that without triggering the shadow within her because that's what she's repressing. She's in society, she's in the world, but you want to speak to the part that nobody else sees, not even her boyfriend or her husband. That's even worse. Her husband, that's worse. If he's her husband, he's probably seen even less than her boyfriend. But you want to be the forbidden. You want to be the forbidden lover. You want to be the shadow archetype. You want to be in her mind. You want to become the one that she connects with her most secret fantasies. That would get you, what gets her really going. You see, I don't trust these religious types. I don't trust these people that talk about religion all day. I don't trust people that claim to be all good because those are the people that repress their own shadow. And those are the ones that are going to pay money to some online prostitute to whatever, to call them I don't know, to insult them, to do nasty things for them. We all know what goes on online, and there's somebody paying for that. You know who pays for that? All of these people that are praising religious figures or something like that. People that attack me are the very same people that will jerk off to watching a dog fuck a woman or something like that. All those religious, pure people are repressing their own shadow. So when somebody's a pure type like that, I'm immediately suspicious, you see. People that are claiming they're so holy and they're so good, these people are always deflecting. Um they try to get the attention off of themselves, but they're always hiding something. So if you're sitting here on this live stream and you're putting your religious bullshit into my chat, think about it. First of all, you're a fucking retard. You must be really stupid, my friend. A maggot, a fucking trash bag, something that is despicable. Why do you waste your time on a lost soul, my friend? What you gonna do? Threaten me? What's you gonna do? Come over to my house and hurt me? My friend, I'm a 6'4", 250-pound man without weapons. You couldn't do anything for me. I've been a lifelong martial artist. I will fuck you up so bad. You're never gonna walk again. And that's if I'm nice. Secondly, what are you gonna do to me spiritually? Are you gonna pray on me? Are you gonna pray against me? Are you gonna ask your God to curse me or to punish me for teaching people how to access true power? Your gods are dying. They're all dying. All of your gods are dying. And I'm happy because these fucking egregores have been repressing human power for millennia, for so long. These solar archetype patriarchal god forms can no longer exist in this new form, in this new age that we're moving into. They're done. And every day they're getting weaker and weaker and weaker. Look at the Catholic Church. What a joke. Look at all those other religions. They're bleeding out. They're bleeding out. It's just a matter of time. And you're going to see it in your lifetime. All that shit is collapsing. So that leaves me with the question, why the fuck are you retards on my live stream talking about Allah is king? Is that supposed to scare me? That's supposed to scare me, you fucking idiots. God damn it. But thanks for the energy. I'm feeding off of it. So, do we have more questions? Do we have more questions? On that note, I'm gonna wrap this up now. And talk to you soon.